Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophet Speak. We continue our study of the book of Shmuel, the first book of Samuel. We are about to begin the study of chapter 11 today. At the end of chapter 10, Shmuel introduced the people of Israel to their new king, their new leader, Saul. However, he wasn't that well accepted. He, at this point, hadn't yet actually accomplished anything as king, and many people kind of derided him, laughed at him, and Saul didn't really set himself up as king. He kind of just went home and continued going about his business. So the first challenge for a king is about to happen, and we're going to read about today. And Saul admirably stepped up to the challenge and proved himself to be a leader. And that's the episode we're about to hear about. Now, just a reminder, at the end, there's so many things here that remind us of the end of Shoftim, of the book of Judges. At the end of the book of Judges, the terrible event of the rape and murder of the concubine led to massive civil war among the people. And if you recall, after the people slaughtered most of the tribe of Benjamin, they also took an oath not to allow their daughters to marry into the remainder of the tribe of Benjamin, the few hundred men that were left. And the people of Benjamin went to a town called Yavesh Gilad, which is one of the few places that did not join the rest of the people of Israel to attack Benjamin, to avenge against the tribe of Benjamin. And they slaughtered all of the people in Yavesh Gilad and took the young women from there and brought them as wives to the remaining men of the tribe of Benjamin. So adding awfulness to more awful to make it even more awful and more worse, that massacre of the people of Yavesh Gilad was just, in case it wasn't bad enough, the people of Yavesh Gilad were slaughtered. We're going to hear about Yavesh Gilad again, and just like in the last chapter, and we remember that Shaul himself is a member of the tribe of Benjamin. Shaul was from the place, Givah, where the story of the concubine occurred. We're going to have in this chapter some more reminders of that story. Vaya'al Nachash Ammoni, Nachash, which was the name of the king of the Ammonites. This is probably... Nachash is the title name, kind of like the Pharaoh of Egypt was the Nachash of Ammon, and the people, and he Vayichan al Yavesh Gilad, and he camped against the residents of Yavesh Gilad. Now, we just learned that not that long ago the people of Yavesh Gilad were slaughtered. So who was residing in Yavesh Gilad now? As we'll see from the story, there were clearly Israelites that were there. So one would imagine that some of the remnants of the tribes, Yavesh Gilad lies on the eastern bank of the Jordan River. So it was probably some remnants of the tribe of Reuben and Gad that went to resettle the area. So it was weak, newly resettled, and this is the group of people that Nachash, the king of Ammon, camped against and surrounded. Vayomer, and he said, Kol anshe Yavesh el Nachash, and all of the people in Yavesh Gilad saw they had no power against Nachash; they could not resist him. So they said, Kiras lanu berit v'na'avdecha. Just let's make some kind of agreement, and we will serve you. Just as their brethren on the other side of the Jordan had some level of peace by becoming entering into servitude under the Philistines, so will be yours. Rather than stand up for themselves and be loyal to God, and by serving Nachash, they're basically accepting their gods and their ways of life, which was the antithesis of what God wanted them to do. God wanted them to be independent so that they can worship God in peace the way they're supposed to, and teach the world about the ideals of monotheism. But this is not something that they were ready to do. They were ready to give up because they felt so weak. This is the state of the people at this time. They had no pride. they had no ability to stand up for themselves. So Vayomer Aleim, this is verse 2, Nachash Ammoni, so the king Nachash of Ammon said to the people, Bezos achros lachem, if you want me to make you a covenant, this is how I'll make you a covenant. B'nikor lochem kol ein yamin, I will gouge out every person's right eye, v'samtia cherpa al kol Yisrael, and I will in such a way shame the entire Israel. I'll shame the entire Israel by showing that I can just take over the whole place and gouge out their eyes and mark them as servants of mine as opposed to being servants of God. Vayomer elav ziknei Yavesh, and it's interesting. I heard some commentators point out that gouging out the eye is one of the things that when God commanded the Jewish people about the rules of taking of slavery, he said that's something you're not allowed to do. If an owner were to do that to his slave, the slave would go free, right? So all the more so, Nachash wanted to show that he's going to subjugate them, make them slaves, gouge out their eyes, and they'll stay subservient to him. Vayomrei lov ziknei Yavesh. So the elders of Yavesh answered as follows: Heref lanu shivas yamim. Give us a space of 7 days, a time of 7 days. V'nishlecha malachim, let us send messengers b'chol gvul Yisrael, in all the boundaries of Israel. V'mein moshia osanu v'yatzanu elecha. If no one will save us, then we will come out to you. In other words, come out of the city and surrender to you. This is remarkable because the response of Yavesh apparently was to accept this deal. In other words, he had the ability to attack them now, but he didn't. He said he gave them 7 days. So much was he sure that the people of Israel weren't going to stand up for themselves. This was the state of shame and loss and weakness that the people of Israel were in at that time. And the people in Yavesh were ready to surrender. And their only hope would be if their brethren would come to their aid. But they realized that what are the chances that that's going to happen? They'll try, but let's see what happens. So Vayavo hamalachim givat Shaul, and the messengers with this message coming to the rest of Israel, pleading for help, came to Givat Shaul, the place, which is the Givat, the hill of Saul, which is really wouldn't have necessarily at the time yet been called Givat Shaul. It would have been just called Givat, the hill. However, it would be called Givat Shaul, the place of Saul, after Saul became famous, but Saul wasn't famous yet. Yes, Shmuel appointed him, told the people he will be their king, but he hadn't yet accomplished anything. So the place name is being called this Al Shem Sofo, meaning based on what later on it became known as Givat Shaul. Vayidabru hadvarim ba'oznei ha'am. And he said these things, and they said these things, they spoke of what is happening in Yavesh Gilad, and they told the people about what Nachash had threatened to do. Vayisuch al-am es kolam vayivku. And the people started to cry and cry and cry. That's all they did. That was their response. Oh, terrible. Nobody got up to do anything. Now, this is Givat Shaul. The people may have heard that Samuel had appointed this king, but no one had any confidence to even look to find him to see what he would do. They didn't take it seriously. They didn't take him seriously. However, so they just came and told the people, and in Shaul's town, they told over the story when Shaul wasn't even there, and they all started crying and crying and crying. Oy nabach. V'hinei Shaul ba'ach rei habakar min hasadeh. Saul, who was going about his usual life as a farmer, he was coming after plowing the field with the cattle, or working in the field with the cattle. So he comes in, some king, he's just been plowing. Vayomer Shaul malam kivku. What's everybody crying about? So Vayisapru at divrei anshe Yavesh. So then they told him what the people of Yavesh had said. And here, Saul, who before was the one who was just a simple, plain person who didn't want to step up to the plate because he didn't feel like he was worthy. Remember, he became a new man, a new person. And Shmuel gave him the confidence and said, "You can make decisions on your own now." So the language chosen here is very important. Vatitzlach ruach Elohim al Shaul, the same language that we said when Saul was among the prophets, that the Spirit of God gripped him. It was that same Spirit that made him into a new man. That Spirit told him, I have to stand up and do something. When he heard these words. And he was very angry. Angry against the people and the people's reaction, but also angry at Nachash, who was ready to go and embarrass and shame the people of Israel in such a way. Vayikach tzemed bakar, and he took a pair of cattle. Vayinatcheu, and he cut it up. He cut the cattle up into pieces. This is a clear reminder of the horrific event of cutting up of the concubine, the woman that had been raped and murdered, into pieces to be sent around all of the tribes. Now he took a cattle, Vayinatcheu vayishalach, and he sent pieces b'chol gvul Yisrael, to all the boundaries of Israel, B'yad HaMalachim, in the hands of these same messengers, Lamar, with the following message: Asher einenu yotzei acharei Shaul ve'achar Shmuel. Whoever does not come out to battle and follow Shaul, Saul, and Samuel. So Shaul is bringing Shmuel into this wisely, demonstrating, he knows that people may not be loyal to him yet, but people are loyal to Shmuel. Shaul will lead it, but Shmuel will come along so that he has the support of the prophet. Similar to we had by Gideon, where, like, for example, Balak, who went to battle only with Devorah, the prophet, would come with him. Another place, similar places. Ko yaseh livkaro. This will happen to his cattle. This is what will be done to his cattle. One simple way of understanding is we will punish you by cutting up your cattle for not participating in the battle. But another way of understanding is that if we don't stand up and defend yourselves, what will happen to your belongings? You will all be enslaved. You're going to lose your cattle. Vayipol pachad Adonai al ha'am, and the fear of God fell upon the nation. Vayetzu ki shachad, and everyone came out to join Saul as one. The last time people joined as one was to come and attack the tribe of Benjamin. Now they are coming as one to fight under the banner being held by a member of the tribe of Benjamin. The last time people came to give up, it was because of the terrible disaster of murder of a human being and rape of a human being. Now they are here because they want to save the pride of Israel. The entire story that ended the book of Judges on such a terrible, terrible note is now coming full circle. Vayifkedem bevazek, and he Vayifkedem means like he counted them up, he mustered them together, lined up the people in Bezek, in the place of Bezek. Vayuvnei Yisrael, and as he counted up his armies, he was shlosh meot elef. He had 300,000 members of Israel, v'ish Yehuda, and of the tribe of Judah, shloshim elef, 30,000. We already see here Judah being mentioned separate from the rest of Israel. So this divide, which is going to happen in several generations, the split between the northern tribes and the southern tribe of Judah, which eventually became a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom, we see the seeds of that divide already. For the first time, we see not the tribes of Israel listed with Judah as one of the tribes, but Judah separate from the rest of the tribes of Israel. So apparently that split was already happening. Vayomru lamalachim, and he said to the messengers, Haboim, that had come, Ko tamrun lish Yavesh Gilad, I want you to go back to Yavesh Gilad and return the following message. Machar tiyeh lachem teshua kechom hashemesh. Tomorrow you will be saved at the time of the heat of the sun, in other words, by the middle of the day. Vayavo hamalachim vayagidu lan sheyavesh vayismachu. And the messengers came to Yavesh Gilad. They told the people of Yavesh that they're about to get some relief, about to be rescued, and they were very happy about it. Vayomru anshe Yavesh, and the people of Yavesh said, Machar neitzeh alechem. Tomorrow we will surrender to you. They didn't want to tell the people of Yavesh, of course, that they're going to be attacked. Obviously, that would take away the element of surprise. So they told them, tomorrow we're going to come out of the city and because apparently no one's coming to save us. Tomorrow we'll come out and surrender as we have agreed. V'asisam lanu k'chol hatov beinechem, and you can do to us whatever it is that you want to do to us, which was to do the horrific act of gouging out their eyes. Vayimi macharas, and it was the next day. Vayasem Shaul esam shlosha rashim, and Saul divided the nation into three groups, 3 battalions. Vayavo b'toch hamachane ba'ashmorat haboker, and they entered the camp in the early morning hours. So in other words, they moved in at night, and attacked early morning before the light came. Vayaku at Ammon, and they struck down the Ammonites, fighting with them at Chomayom until the heat of the day. And by the time the middle of the day came, the war was over. Vayiha nisharim vayafutsu, those that were left, that weren't killed, had run and scattered and away. Lo v'lo nishru v'am shnayim yachad. There wasn't a single group of even 2 people together. They all ran off helter skelter in different directions. So now Saul had proven himself. He was able to unite the people. He was able to save this group of Israelites in Yavesh Gilad, and he was able to lead them in a successful battle with good strategy, quickly, swiftly, without any hesitation. Vayomer Amel Shmuel. So the people now said to Shmuel, now that they see that Shaul is such a leader, Mi ha'omer Shaul yimloch leinu. Who are those ones that were making fun before and sarcastically saying, who's this Saul guy who's going to rule over us? Tnu'an Hashem v'nimisayim. Bring those people out here so we can kill them. They were disloyal to our king. Look at our king and look what he has just done for us. Vayomer Shaul. And Saul spoke up and said, no, lo yumat ish b'yom hazeh. No one is getting executed today. God has done this tremendous salvation, this tremendous victory in Israel. Shaul again here does not take it personally, does not take the opportunity to take revenge against his enemies, gives them the opportunity to be loyal to him, and gives the credit to God rather than take the credit himself. If the credit was his own, then he would avenge his honor, but the credit is not his own, the credit is to God. Again, Saul is being consistently, up to this point, portrayed by his good characteristics. Vayomer Shmuel el. So Samuel said to the nation, now, Lechu v'nelcha ha-Gilgal. Now let's go back to Gilgal. Now let's go back to before we were at Mitzpah. Now let's go back to Gilgal, where Joshua began the conquest of this land. It is now time for us to renew the monarchy. So now Samuel is using the term monarchy, the term melucha. Remember, he didn't want it to be this way, but he's following God's instructions because the people asked for it to be this way, and the people demanded that it be a melech, and Shmuel responds as such. So again, Saul, who had been anointed by Shmuel in private as they walked out of the city, Saul, who had been chosen by Shmuel during that lottery in front of all the people, but he wasn't accepted. Now Shmuel gathers the people together. Vayelchu kolam ha-Gilgal. The entire nation went to Gilgal. Vayamlichu sham et Shaul, and now they inaugurated him lifnei Adonai, before God, ba Gilgal. Vayizbuchu sham, and then they brought over there zoachim shlamim, peace offerings lifnei Adonai, before God. Vayismach sham Shaul, and there Shaul was happy and joyous. B'chol anshe Yisrael, and all of the people of Israel, ad ma'od, very much. Everyone was joyous. A huge party, a huge celebration. It was finally officially inaugurated, willingly in front of all the people, after the victory and after demonstrating his leadership capabilities. Thank you so much for studying chapter 11 together. Looking forward to studying chapter 12, and as we continue to read the story of Saul as king.